Alright, so we're going to go through the practice test here. I'm just going to pretty much quickly go through these problems, and then if you have questions before the test on Thursday, we can go through them. So the first thing for this first page is you have to graph the function. And you can graph this, you can do all these problems actually on a separate sheet of paper if you don't have a printer to print it off. The graphing ones are a little bit difficult to do on a separate sheet of paper, but just try your best to make the graph that you can. Anyway, with these, let's start by finding the axis of symmetry. So this is in standard form. So the axis of symmetry for standard form is negative b over 2a. So a is negative 1, b is negative 4, and c is negative 1. So this is going to be the opposite of negative 4, which is 4, over 2 times negative 1, which is going to be 4 over negative 2, which is negative 2. So x equals negative 2. So this is my axis of symmetry. So that is the axis of symmetry. To get the vertex, we need to take the axis of symmetry and plug it back in. So we're taking negative 2 and plugging it back in. So this is negative 4 plus 8 minus 1, which is 4 minus 1, which is 3. So the vertex is negative 2, 3. This is the vertex. So negative 2, 3. Okay. And then we can plot another point such as the, I don't know, x equals 0 is pretty easy. If x equals 0 and you plug this in, 0 minus 0 is negative 1. So that means y would have to equal negative 1. So 0, negative 1 is going to be a point right here, which means that on the other side, negative 4, negative 1 is a point. So it should look something like this. You could also plug in negative 1 in. I believe these are also points. And you can use a table function on your calculator to get these points. Don't forget the domain is all real numbers, and the range will be y is less than, because the parabola is going down, or equal to 3. Okay, so that's standard form, which is probably the hardest one. The next one is vertex form. So vertex form, the vertex is hk. So h is 3 because it's the opposite, k is 3. So the vertex is 3, 3. And the axis of symmetry is x equals 3. So axis of symmetry, x equals 3. Vertex is 3, 3. So then we can pick a point, plug in, let's do 2. So if we do x equals 2, let's see, y equals 2 minus 3 squared plus 3. So this is 1 plus 3, which is 4. So the point is 2, 4. So 2, 4 is right here. Your axis of symmetry again is right here. So this point is on the other side, and it looks like that. Okay, your domain is all real numbers. And your range would be y is greater than or equal to, because the parabola is going up this time, 3. Okay, this is intercept form. So intercept form, you have p, which is 1, and q, which is negative 3, because it's opposites. So if you remember, the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals p plus q over 2. So that would be 1 minus 3 over 2, which would be negative 2 over 2, which would be negative 1. So x equals negative 1. So that's going to be right down here. So the vertex, we have to get the y coordinate, is going to be 2x minus 1, x plus 3. So 2, 2, 1 minus 1, 1 plus 3. So this is actually 2, this is actually 2 times 0 times 2, or 4, sorry, 4. And so the vertex is at 1, 0. So this is a special case because if you're at 1, 0, I meant to do, this is wrong. This should be at negative. This should be at 1. That's my bad. So if you're at 1, 0, this is the vertex. So you're going to need to put in another point. A lot of times for intercept form, you don't need to plug in another point. But for this one, you do because the vertex is actually on the x-axis, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm just rethinking, double checking. Oh no, this is negative 1. Well, now I messed all this up. I was right with negative 1. Sorry guys, that's what I get for going too quickly. So this is a negative 1, this is a negative 1. Okay, so negative 2 times negative 2 times 2, which would be 8. So negative 1, 8 is all the way up here. That doesn't make sense either. All right, let's try this again. So P equals 1, Q equals negative 3. So the parabola is going to go through those points on the x-axis. So the vertex, actually let's go with the axis of symmetry, is x equals P plus Q over 2. So this is going to be 1 minus 3 over 2, which is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So x equals negative 1. So this is the vertex, or the axis of symmetry. So the vertex, if I plug that back in, is 2 times negative 1 minus 1 times negative 1 plus 3. So this is going to be 2 times negative 2 times 2, which is negative 8. There we go. So this point is all the way down here, and then you have a point at 1 because it's intercept form, so this is going to be a point on the x-axis, and negative 3 is also a point on the x-axis. So your parabola looks like this. So the domain is all reals, and the range is y is greater than or equal to negative 8. Okay, and that's the graphing. Alright, you can also solve the quadratic when y equals 0 by graphing. So if you solve this quadratic, you can just use the table button in your calculator for these. I'm totally okay with that, just to get the points. So if you do that, just graph all the points that you can. So the points that you actually can graph, for example, in this, like negative 7, 4, you can't graph that. Negative 6, 0. So these are just points from the table button in the calculator that I'm using. Negative 4, 2, negative 3, 0. And you can see that the parabola is going to look something like this. The main point here is to get these values. So x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 3. So we have to look at where the parabola crosses the x-axis. We can do the same thing for the next one. And if you don't have one of my TI-30XS calculators I normally use in class, you're welcome to go to desmos.com. So try to go to desmos.com and see what the graph looks like and just look and see where it crosses. Or you can do it the longer way if you want, but you'll have one of my calculators in class. So -3, 0, -2, -4, -1, -4, and 0, 0. So this one looks like this. You just have to do a rough sketch, and then you say, okay, x equals -3, because that's where it crosses, and x equals 0. So these are the solutions. Okay, so what are 4 other examples of directions that mean solve? Well, there's one up here well, this means solve. This says solve. But these are also called zeros. You can also find the x-intercept, solutions, and the final one we haven't really talked about that much. It's called roots. All of these, though, basically mean the same thing, which is find the value for x. Okay, so that's zeros, x-intercept, solutions, roots. Okay, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So for these, we need to make the tree. So you need to show your work for these. So you need to break up the number 32. So there's 5 2's. So this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. There's 2 sets of doubles. So that's 2 times 2 times the square root of 2, which is 4 square root of 2. Okay, this one, let's look at this one. Probably 4 times 20, 2, 2, 4 times 5, 2, 2. So this is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, doubles, doubles. So 2 times 2 times square root of 5, 4 square root of 5 is our answer. Okay, for this one, we need to break up 2 numbers. So 12, actually, you don't need to break up the square root of 25 because the square root of 25 is 5. So this is just 5 at the bottom. But what about 12? So that's 4, 3, 2, 2. So 2 times 2 times 3. I don't know why that keeps disappearing. I think it's because I'm at the margin. I don't know. So this is 2 square root of 3 over 5. All right, 20, same thing. Could break it up into 5, 4, 2, 2. It's not letting me write down there. Okay, square root of 64 is 8. So this is the square root of, and my tree these are 2 2's here. So this is 2 times 2 times 5. So 2 times the square root of 5 over 8. Now, be careful here because you do need to simplify. So 2 goes into 8 4 times. So this ends up being square root of 5 over 4. So make sure you simplify if you can. Okay, solve each equation by taking square roots. All right, so let's divide both sides by -6. So n squared equals, let's see, I think that's 18. So after we divide by -6, you get 18. So now we take square root. And now when you take the square root, you should get n equals plus or minus square root of 18. Don't forget to simplify 18 though. So you have 9, 2, 3, 3. So n equals plus or minus the square root of 2 times 3 times 3. Take it out. So n equals plus or minus 3 square root of 2. So you end up getting -3 square root 2, positive. You don't need to write the plus sign. 3 square root 2. This one, we're going to subtract 9 from both sides first. So 64x squared equals 25. Then we're going to divide both sides by 64. So x squared equals 25 over 64. And then we're going to take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. X equals square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 64 is 8. So this one's nice for us. This fraction works out really nicely because you can take the square root of both 25 and 64 evenly. There's no tree diagrams needed. So this is -5/8 and +5/8. All right, let's look at the last two. This one we're going to add 7 first. So we're going to get that b squared by itself. So when we add 7, this is -29. Now we're going to divide by 4. So this is b squared equals negative 29 over 4, square root, square root. So b equals plus or minus negative 29, square root of 29, negative square root, the square root of negative 29 over the square root of 4 is 2. Now remember, when you have a square root of a negative, you have to put an I in your final answer. So the actual answer is b is plus or minus I square root of 29. Negative goes away because that's where the I is. So your answer is negative I square root 29 over 2, I square root 29 over 2. Alright, and the last one, we can just go straight to just taking the square root, but we're taking the square root of a negative. Don't forget the plus or minus. So m is plus or minus I square root of 17. You can't simplify the square root of 17. So this is negative I square root 17, positive I square root 17. And I believe that was the last problem. So that's it for the practice test. So again, do the problems on your, hopefully do the problems on your own first. If you had to go back, redo them so that way you know how to do them for the test next class. Okay? And I'll see you next class. If you have questions at the beginning of class, let me know.